Hi, Bastian.
Hello.
We are now live on YouTube.
We have 42 people already in the meeting. So I think...
Yeah, no, just the last, because Pavel had the same problem, so I wrote him on the chat on WhatsApp.
I think he's here.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Very good.
Everything
Okay.
right.
Okay. Okay, tell me when you want me to start. In the meantime, I share my screen.
Thank you, Ilaria. We are live on YouTube. When you want to start, I think we can. And now the problem we had with the first link in the program should have been partially solved, as we are sharing all around through Discord, email, etc. the new link. So the people will just come, I think. So if you want to start, probably everybody is here, at least from the panelists side.
Okay, I think we can start. Okay, if you tell me.
We can see your screen.
Okay, so if you tell me when
yes.
Okay, if you tell me when I can start, Chiara.
You can start.
Okay. Okay, thank you to everybody. As you know, the CostAction, the geography of new working spaces and the impact on the periphery, has jointly organized the RGCS symposium, and most of the Milan chapter is part of the CostAction, and many people that are attending the symposium are part of the CostAction. The CostAction is a European project that is very open. So if all of you that are interested in joining the CostAction are very welcome. You will find in this presentation and then online all the information to join the project. I'm Ilaria Mariotti. I'm the chair of the CostAction, and this map shows that we are a lot. First of all, we started at the end of October 2019, and it's 4 years project. I'm the chair. Pavel Bednar, that will join the roundtable, is the vice chair, and then there is Mina Di Marino, a communication manager, and then we are in total more than 100 researchers from all Europe, plus the US, Israel, recently also Brazil joined, and Canada, plus and also Lebanon. Let me see. Okay, so here you can see some nice picture of us when we met.
No, Ilaria, we're not seeing it.
We're seeing only the cover of your slides.
It's the first page.
Strange. Shall I? Okay, I try again to share my screen. Okay, can you see now? the picture?
Now it works. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
So we organized our second MC meeting before the COVID pandemic on February in Milan. So you see all of us very close, very attached to each other. It was very nice to be like that. And as I said, we also have the leaders of the working groups that are Gregor Micek, that is attending the symposium, Mina Akavan, Maria Chiara Barzotto, and Bruno Morise. Plus, we have the manager of horizontal activities, Peter Dubronsky, the responsible for short-term research activities, Eva Belvonchikova, and Jacek Gadecki for ITC grant. What we are doing, the aim of the CostAction is to foster the, let's say, the networking. So we do research, but we have funding to improve the networking. So we try to disseminate our results. We organize now online, before face-to-face workshops and conferences, meetings. And what is interesting for all of you that are listening to me is that we have grants for training schools. For instance, we organized a training school this year on July online. It was based at Politecnico of Milan with Chiara Tagliaro and the colleagues. It was online, was in July. Training schools on co-working spaces. We will probably do organize a second edition in 2021. And we have for these grants for students to attend the training school. Then we have grants for the conferences, specifically for people for students, for younger researchers, but generally researchers from Central and East Europe. And then we have short-term scientific missions that are grants given to researchers to develop a part of the research, of course, related to the CostAction in one of the universities belonging to the action. So what is important is that you check time to time our website, you check our Twitter and Facebook and so on in order to be informed about our activities. The CostAction is composed by four main working groups, four main topics. So the first is about glossary and taxonomy, so the definition of new working, what we call new working spaces, but that is a synonymous for collaborative spaces, the geographical distribution location patterns, and we specifically focus on peripheral areas. Then the second section is about the atlas, meaning the collection of studies, data, and practices about the direct effects, for instance, the effects on the co-working managers, the co-workers in terms of performance, well-being, and the indirect effects on the local context where they are located. The third section is about policy tools that have been implemented at national, regional, and local levels, and their effects on new working spaces. All of these activities are very much related nowadays to the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic that is also became also central to our CostAction. And then there is the second section that is about dissemination and communication strategies. And Mina Di Marino, the communication manager, will focus on it. What we define as new working spaces, I go very briefly. This is one of the first results of our deliverable. First deliverable, we concern collaborative and creative working spaces, co-working spaces, smart work centers, maker spaces, Fab Lab, open workshop, hacker spaces, living lab and corporate labs, and also informal new working spaces like coffee shops and libraries. We have developed the first deliverables. Now we are working on the third and fourth deliverable, looking at the typologies and location patterns of new working spaces, and then we will go on analyzing direct and indirect effects of the co-working spaces. If people in this symposium have developed research on these issues, we are very welcome to refer to their research, because this is how the CostAction works. These are just some webinars that we organize about the impact of the COVID pandemic on new working spaces. These are all our information about the website and social and also Facebook groups, the Italian one and the Maltese one. Now I give the floor to Mina Di Marino, that can briefly say something about our website and activities.
Yes, thank you very much, Ilaria. I'm briefly sharing my screen as well. I just want to communicate what we are doing through the website. Actually, the website has been structured based on the CostAction research project. So once you are here on the main page, I hope you can see it. It's very easy to follow what we are really doing. It's regularly updated, so you can really get our news, but also our deliverables and so on. But why we are so focused on communication strategy here? The CostAction compared to other Horizon project or to other national project, as you can see, there is a huge emphasis about that. But of course, because as Ilaria mentioned, the CostAction doesn't fund research, but fund networkings and connecting people. How do we connect people? We need to build bridge between all of us. And we are from different nationalities. We are from different cultures. We are from different generations, because we cover very huge variety of background, but also different age. And also we are covering different individuals, no? And the background of each of us is quite complementary. We are supplementing each of us. Some of us are really expert in urban regional economics, some of us in planning, also in sociology and so on. So it's a very interdisciplinary team. As you can see from the website, if you go through about, you can really perceive that the huge variety of the objectives that we have, as Ilaria was mentioning, but we need also to communicate that, because we are open to the society. We are communicating societal and scientific impact to the national, European, and local communities. And also we are quite inclusive. So for example, if you go through the activities here, you can see that in addition to the short-term scientific mission for early career researchers, we also have, for example, inclusive target country, because in the CostAction, we are very inclusive, and we are also welcoming all these researchers who might be sometimes disadvantaged and don't have the possibility to enter to this large network. But also we need to create an environment that focus on the people, that make their ideas prosper, encourage them also to take the initiatives. So some of these, for example, the training school that was promoted by the Politecnico di Milano, RGS also, that was in collaboration with the CostAction, but also we want to encourage every cost members to take their own initiative and work with us, and proposing also conferences, seminars, and being, for example, responsible for the organization of roundtables and other initiatives. And of course, in the working groups you can see the working groups, how they are articulated, composed, who work in each working groups, and what we are doing now. Want to briefly focus on the working group number 2. But now we just started, and we are developing the topics for a questionnaire which will focus on the impact of COVID. in our home country. So each country in the COST member has been asked to outline the main impact of the COVID pandemic. This would help us also to formulate the question for this questionnaire. So as you can see, we have been very much affected by the COVID, but especially in the working group number 2, we are trying to use this like a positive aspect, no? Try to analyze what was before the COVID, what's going on under pandemic, and try also to predict what will be after the pandemic. And so in the deliverables, you can see that we are proposing international conference papers, but this must be co-authored by different COST members, so from different countries. So we have conference papers, we have book chapters, edited volume, like the one who has been recently accepted by Routledge, and now 58 COST members are involved in writing 22 book chapters. So that's a very good achievement for us. And of course, the forthcoming special issue in European Planning Study, which is edited by Ilaria Mariotti, Bastian Lange, and Ignacy Capdevila. So I think I have to finish now. My 5 minutes are over, but thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mina. So I will share the screen again just to show the question that we would like to pose in this roundtable. Sorry. Okay, so the present roundtable involves some of the CostAction members. So yeah, myself and Mina Di Marino. Okay, you have already listened to us. Pavel Bednar, that is the vice chair, Ignacy Capdevila, Tiu Pass, and Bastian Lange. What we would like to discuss now in this roundtable and then leave the floor to all of you is about perspectives on geography of new working spaces under and after the COVID pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. So I should say a few words about this, saying that the COVID pandemic has affected the typology of work, the geography of work, and also the layout for offices and the new models of working spaces to accommodate teleworkers. So as concerns the typology of work, we have already spoken about this. So the merging of remote working practices, teleworking, remote working, home working, and the related effects on workers in terms of productivity, innovation, quality of life, and well-being. As concerns the geography of work, there are papers, and we also read in the newspaper about the exodus from big cities, especially during the lockdown, but also in this period after lockdown, but still during the pandemic, with workers that are mainly working from home. So the issue is as I already asked to Spinuzzi, but will the peripheral areas, will the suburban areas gain from this pandemic? Are people willing to move out of the big cities? We don't know the answer yet, and I think, as I discussed also with Mina Di Marino, that it also depends by the country. In Norway, the effect might be different from Italy. In Norway, people were teleworking years and years before. In Italy, is a kind of new phenomenon. Then the last issue is about the new layout for offices in order to guarantee the social distancing. And so this big issue that people like, Chiara Tagliaro, no, can better discuss of these skyscrapers that are not feasible anymore in this period of pandemic, you know. And so because of the guarantee, it is important to guarantee the social distancing. And then the fact that the co-working spaces can represent a good alternative for remote workers because they offer access to adequate technology, reduce the risk of isolation, the cost of employees because they reduce the commuting cost, and can improve job satisfaction and well-being and enhance the work-life balance. So I put on the floor these issues, and I leave to Mina Di Marino to go on. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ilaria. Yes, very briefly, I want to bring to the discussion my perspective as a planner from the cases which I have studied so far from Finland and Norway. And what I want to say is that for example, we have discussed very much in the parallel sessions about how people are networking between places, for example, and also how the commuting is changing now because of the pandemic. I would like to extend this discussion, these arguments to one of the biggest phenomena which we have analyzed in the Nordic country, which we call multi-locality. That means that people work and live in multiple places. But why and how this happen? This happen because individuals, they might have different spatial temporal strategies, no? And this might be for working purposes, when you have to move to another place for working, where you live in an area where there is no exactly the job catchment areas that you can respond to. But also might depend on your studies, because you might be a researcher, you need to move to the university. It might be also that your family has a different location because the family has been divorced, for example. All the spouses work in different places. So you can be multi-local for different reasons, and you can be also multi-local from the cottage. As today Clay Spinozzi was mentioning, at that time when multi-locality was somehow developed, we thought about the second home. So in Finland are the summer cottage, in Norway they call it hytte, where all Norwegians go to for the summer. But now, because of the pandemic, most of the Norwegians moved to the second home. So now there is a huge debate how these cottages might be used also for working purposes, and not just for tourism or for vacation and so on. So as a planner, I think this is very important, because it means that we are using places like home, which have never used before for such a long and prolonged time for working. And secondly, I have to say that the meaning of commuting has completely changed. We are not commuting anymore from the place A to the place B. So from the home to the office, but we might network between different places. And of course, the post-functionalist approach that we might probably need to adapt to the COVID, also of the COVID pandemic, how we are going to define the functions in our cities. Are still there the classical functions, how we call it in the modern cities, housing, offices, and services? I don't think anymore. But if you look at the cities, especially in the Nordic countries, we still have a lot of monofunctional districts. And that's why also people, they are multi-local, because they don't get the same provision of services and jobs in the place they live. Yeah. So that was very briefly, but I hope I can touch the topics which I was very interesting to share with you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mina. So now I give the floor to Pavel Bednar.
Okay, thank you very much for to be invited and to participate in. And I would like to follow Mina's remarks. And we need to discuss who are domains actors of COVID-19 pandemic and to co-working spaces. So the first, of course, co-working spaces specifically. And after that, of course, some investors, as well as internationally or locally run co-working centers, But after that, what about landlords? So I mean, what about landlord strategies? Yeah, or for example, municipalities or regions or our states. Because of course, as we know, that landlord strategies could be threefold. The first is renting out space to co-working operators. The second one, entering the market directly by subdividing floor plates and self-operating shared workstations. And of course, the next one could be providing step-out space for smaller companies. So after that, the question is for the future is how landlords should deal with such COVID-19 pandemic, and of course there is some trajectory how such identified landlord strategies will be changed. Yeah, this is a question, first question, and the second topic which we would like to provide because as I am an economic geographer is how about such landlord strategies and our cities. Because of course we need to discuss where co-working centers are located. So predominantly urban cores or city centers, but urban cores are usually have some different specifics, which if we consider, for example, primary capital cities, for example, if I'm from Czech Republic, like Prague, yeah, that urban cores are usually occupied by plenty of hotels, that such hotels now are empty. Yeah, and could be such hotels transformed to new co-working spaces. And question is, we have already discussed in Prague that now is a trajectory to have to huge investment in specific oriented co-working centers in urban cores. So after that, does co-working centers make a new manufacturing areas in our cities? It's a question. Yeah, so it could be under for the future. And of course, how to tackle with such a large urban scale project in our cities, especially because, as we know, we could say that we can stay set that could be a chance of co-working led urban regeneration, for example, for the future. And if we consider, for example, my city where I live and where I am teaching, so as our city of Zlín, so after that could be a way how to provide such support for co-working centers there and the peripheries to build university-led co-working centers. And after that, could we change such university-led co-working centers to something better to use, for example, like digital innovation hubs for Industry 4.0? Just a question how such new challenges which we are facing could be discussed in the future, especially in the peripheries. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Pavel. Thank you. Now I give the floor to Ignacy Capdevila.
Yes, hello. You hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So thank you for Ilaria for inviting me to this roundtable. I just wanted to take a few minutes to reflect on the main topic of the research group, and just to pinpoint some, I would say, some trends that actually were, I think, already existing before the pandemics. But I think that with the pandemic, they have like taking momentum and have accelerated. And I think that will also like have a big impact on our understanding of geographies of new working spaces. The first one, I think that is one that I was discussing with the participants of previous session that was about rural co-working. And I think that rural co-working was already gaining momentum, was already taking acceleration due to different trends, because people can move easier to rural areas. Companies are more accepting of people like co-workers working away from the office, etc. But I think from the pandemic has accelerated that trend. Not only in technological and knowledge-intensive companies, but also in other sectors that would qualify as traditional sectors, also might experience that they are like giving more space for teleworking. So I think in that sense, that still is embedded in the paradigm of commuting, of working from home, like being out of the office but near the office. And I think that is still in the paradigm of work from home. However, there's a second trend that goes beyond that. I think is more a trend that I actually have been reading already some articles, so it's already in the interest of academics, that it is about work from anywhere. In that sense, it's more like work from more taking a global perspective, like workers, entrepreneurs, or freelancers, etc., but also like more traditional workers are kind of offered that opportunity from other their own option, or it's like an option given by their company to work from anywhere. So the advantages for companies is that they can have access to talent that is located anywhere. They don't. It's much more. Of course, they reduce their fixed costs, etc., etc. And then actually, that there are some news that I've been reading about that access of not talent elsewhere that the pandemics is offering, like Spanish startuppers that suddenly they can pitch their to venture capitalists in the Silicon Valley, and before before the pandemic that door was closed, and now suddenly it's open, etc., etc. So I think there's a big opportunity there also as remote co-working. And then that is a new paradigm. It's not like the work from home. It's not only like near, but outside the office. Is really anywhere. We'll see where that is heading to. We'll see if it's just a new buzzword or will it be a new reality changing things. And the third thing that actually I think that it goes even beyond that is asking of, or it's referring to the basics of what is co-working, that is virtual co-working. And actually there are some experiences out there about doing co-working without co-location, just like we are doing now, just by the pressure of having a camera filming me, or I feel that you are there, and that pressure makes me work on what I've been telling you that I've been working in. So that is virtual co-working, where presence is more a virtual presence. And also I think that there's actually being some momentum of that, and there are some experiences about virtual co-working spaces that are just emerging, but I think that's an important trend that might be significant in the future.
Thank you, Rinaldi. Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to Tiu Pass. If you want to, just present you who you are. Just I didn't do that.
I am just Hey, Tiu is here. By me, I am from Estonia, almost the Nordic part, and the time is already almost 7, so it's dinner time in our country now. But I was listening our other presentations, and it's good to say I am very much in line already with this words you said, or some viewpoints. And I want to say we all are now in the process of learning by doing. This is a completely interesting approach. We are learning and we are doing at the same time. But in my short contribution, I want to have 2 parts. The first part, that we have some common features in this learning by doing process. First of all, we should recognize that the role of remote work is remarkably increasing. We cannot avoid remote work, and even after pandemic time, if we can overcome pandemic time. And this remote work, that includes also distance learning, but that is changes in labor market and also in our everyday life. Another common feature for us, of course, technological development, but that is actually global issue. But how much we are successful in this learning by doing process, how much we can adapt and use and implement these digi issues in our everyday life and in this remote work period. And these 2 parts together two parts together. That means learning remote work and using of technology. That means, but Ignacio already said, we are in the process that virtual co-working is increasing. That will be so. Additional, second part, I want to say these were features for maybe to all countries, but there are also some country-specific issues, and we cannot avoid them as well. First of all, the size of a country. Of course, that means population, but that means also territory, how large, how big is territory, but also some specific features of territory, either mountains or not. How good is transport network, infrastructure? That all affects also co-working. Then the level, I mentioned already, the level of technological development, how people are used to work with digi platforms, which kind of habits they have. And third, also last not least, maybe we will not talk now about that, but certainly future, these are some cross-cultural differences of countries and societies, like openness to changes, uncertainty avoidance, long-term orientation, power distance, masculinity, individualism. You are saying now, oh, that's Hofstede. Yes, something from Hofstede. And that has also impact if we have remarkable changes in our society, in our life. And now I shortly come, because I was talking about issues regarding the countries and general issues, I refer a bit to my country, Estonia, small country, less population, less than 1.5 million, very small country in distances between south and north and east and west, no more than 300 kilometers. So in 3-4 hours, we can go to everybody almost. We are very digi country. I don't want to say that, okay, we have technological well developed, but our people are, I suppose there are already some maybe advertising about Estonian society as digi society or our digi government. That means our people are used to work always with digi signature, distance learning, tax offices. That's people are used with this digi to use this digi issue. And of course, if I am talking about some cultural issues, I suppose we are more similar to Nordic countries. More mainly, we work together with Norway. Our cultural issues are also somewhat. We are rather individualistic countries. We have low power distance, and that also have some impact on development of co-working. And as our point was just on geography of co-working spaces, then according to experience of my country, or small country, I don't want to say only my country, that's the issue of small countries, which in some sense may be different from large countries. In our case, I want to say that the role of location of co-working spaces is decreasing. Central location is not so essential anymore. Maybe for big high-tech technological companies, important to stay in the capital city in the center. But for the co-working spaces, maker spaces, it's quite good to be in the periphery. And that is one feature of the short development in our country. That is, the co-working spaces are moving to periphery, even to rural areas. I like Mina's approach. I only wrote multi-place living. That is very common to us because everything is so close. People have summer houses. Why not to work there? And I like that you said that that's a very important issue for planners. And what people are expecting for this co-working places, they are starting maybe even more informal. If you ask me about statistics, what kind of changes and so on, we cannot say so clearly about changes in co-working because people sometimes even not register that their office is used now as co-working space. That's a library, sometimes even my apartment, but we need co-working for socialization, for creating ideas for our work, and also for retraining each other. And later, we also need this co-working for the training also managers, because business culture is changing, organizational culture is changing. I'm finishing now. I will finish with sentence said by first keynote speaker. I like it very much. He said that now is renaissance of co-working, and we all are in this process now. And finishing, you agree with me, we are learning by doing, and that's so nice.
Thank you, Theo. Thank you very much. And now I give the floor to Bastian Lange that will kind of try to finish this roundtable, and then I would like other people to ask questions to us. Thank you.
This is a hard. Hello, everybody. My name is Bastian Lange. I'm teaching at University of Leipzig and live in Berlin. I wanted to start to briefly shed light on one key starting point of my thinking, and that is to understand this new type of work with a notion to move away from the classical sort of territorial fix, I would say, the geographically bounded understand of spaces that are there in order to allocate work within a space, within a given entity. Whole of my work is focusing on sort of liberating this notion of understanding new working practices from the point of view of the individual and its attempt to either co-locate, co-socialize, or act in collective action. I think this pandemic also has had a very significant impact, on the one hand, to continue this line of thinking, because it is still a global phenomena. On the other hand, it has reinvented different types of borders, even national borders again. I wanted not to mention again this notion of work, but so many of others have also talked about a rather fixed understanding of work. And I think what the pandemic has also shown to us is a complete hybridization of work, not just efficiently labor money oriented type of work, but also types of home work, of remote work, of course, but also care work, social work, community work, neighborhood work, family work, all these small situations that we are in a paid constellation, but children popped up, the cat is walking through the camera, and all these things, working at home, has sort of hybridized, I think, our notion of work, and has created questions to what extent new spatial relations took place. And I want to shed one line of thinking also on a broader social dimension of these workspaces. There are maker spaces mentioned, but also community-oriented spaces in collaborative spaces by the colleagues in the last minutes. And I think it's important to also understand that some of these spaces, not the mainstream, I would say, but some in the niches are there to demonstrate a kind of alternative view on labor, of doing work in collective dimension, that, to wrap this up a bit, stand for a moment of degrowth, of post-growth practices that are not efficiently oriented in terms of making money and pointing towards a growth orientation. And I think this is a bit also personal learning, but also a growing academic debate, that this pandemic will show us that maybe there are different views more important to broaden our view in order to understand these new working situations where making a living, earning money, of course, doing innovation, also social innovation, mingles and merges with also making your living as a human mankind, and not just as a functionalist and type of working figure that is prominent in a kind of neoliberal agenda, so forth. And I think this degrowth and post-growth perspective provides us with a refined view on work and also different types of work, as I mentioned. And also thinking this ahead, I think we are kind of aware that within these niches, alternative spaces, not the mainstream, I would say, but some of them, they also play a kind of important role for asking where do new social innovations come from? And I think we're quite aware that these new spaces provide a big resource to better understand how interaction takes place, social analog interfaces take place, how these kind of hybrid forms can function and interaction works, innovation works over distance and not just face to face. So to sum this up, I think we should consider these new working spaces also as a great opportunity to ask to what extent not just business models emerge and will be adapted after pandemic, but also that we consider this as a resource for recalibrating, I would say, our notion of efficient-oriented types of work in respect to income work, and that is also maybe a phase where we should reconsider sort of this dominance of paid work in respect to other types of work. And I think if I learned something, or I have learned so far from this pandemic, that there's a slow shift of recalibrating our notion of work in its spaces, call it co-working maker spaces, community-oriented spaces, that sort of liberates our standardized notion of work as income work to a broader understanding of work in its spaces and in its geographies. This is maybe a kind of a attempt to wrap it up in 4 minutes or so. Thanks.
Thank you, Bastian. Thank you to all. And I think, I would like to give the floor to the others. What I found in Discord. In Discord, there is Vitalia Danivska that showed an interesting new business model of hotels that function as a hotel during the night and co-working spaces during the day in Helsinki. So I don't know if Vitalia, you would like to add something about this.
Well, maybe not that much, because I think the Discord chat has gone quite far. So if people want to read more, they're free to do that. I think for me, that is an interesting kind of example to observe, because also the hotel is not centrally located. So it's a little bit away from the city center. So the idea is that it's not oriented towards the traditional tourist, because they probably wouldn't find it or wouldn't end up in that part of Helsinki. So it's really oriented towards being more a co-working space and a community space rather than a traditional hotel. And and the business model, for example, selling hotel rooms as apartments in a way I think is also very different. So each of us, if we would have, like, was it 20,000 or 50,000 euros, I don't remember, they could get a hotel room, which either they choose to kind of give a hotel owner or operator to rent it as a proper hotel room, or they can use it by themselves. So there are interesting things, but I think maybe there are other questions that people want to continue talking, and we can continue with the Discord.
Thank you, Vitalia. Yes, there are new business models going around, like in the case, for instance, I mean, at least what I know in Italy, also bed and breakfast are changed themselves just to survive in working spaces. And some in co-living, working and living together. There is one question about Emanuel Costa underlying the importance of the understanding of periphery. saying that in the American city model, we are talking about suburbs, exurbs, and rural areas, but speaking from the point of view of another continent with another model of city, the word periphery carries another meaning of social and spatial exclusion. Hence the importance of what I brought in opening, thinking about the potential of these collaborative spaces also to the hubs of social and environmental justice, hubs and drivers. So yes, I agree with you. So different countries in different countries, the periphery has different meanings. This is also an issue we are discussing within the cost actions. So if a periphery is only from the geographical point of view, or as other meanings, like for instance the debate of there is recently the debate of the geography of this content, for instance, about the places that don't matter. So these are peripheral areas, and the connotation is the connotation of this content, for instance. So I agree with you, and we should be more precise about the definition of periphery. I don't know if the others, yes, Sebastian?
Just to maybe briefly add on what Emmanuel has posted, I think he's pointing a bit to a broader understanding on periphery, where also sort of new collectives out of their sometimes misery situation and spatially excluded situation rethink some practices, their position, and invent new. And you can see this on different scales, from the suburban view to sort of fringes in Europe or to the global south. The idea of urban gardening is for sure has been there in Central Europe and Northern Hemisphere anyway, but it has been a substantial push as a social innovation tool from the global south, also in order to regain some sovereignty regarding food production, and is very prominent, I would say, in now since many years in Western, at least Western or Northern European cities, so to say. So I think this notion of periphery is twofold. I mean, it has some disadvantages, but also is a resource to ask to what extent and where is sort of the cultural novel coming, or some new practices coming out of these situations. Sometimes it's not the mainstream, sort of the, also as Thuy has mentioned, sort of the core central location where these innovations take place, but sort of sometimes even from the peripheries, things are smaller, things are easier to handle. And so this is also an opportunity to rethink where social innovation will take place.
Thank you, Bastian. Are there other comments?
Ilaria?
Yeah.
Yes, I just want to have a last couple of words about place, because as a planner, I think that place still matters, and I will be very skeptical against this statement, you can work anywhere and anytime. I would be very skeptical, because place still matters. You can see that under COVID, place still matters really much, and also before COVID. You cannot work from anywhere, anytime. If you need really a place to work, might be, as you can be home, but how many of us had problem to work from home? We were forced to work from home. And also when you work from other places, what places are there? I think location still matters really, really much. And in fact, if you look at our mapping area of Milan, Helsinki, Oslo, other cities, we can see that place still matters. Where these new working spaces are located? They are located in very reachable area, most of the time pedestrian oriented neighborhood, or really accessible, or really multifunctional, or in the rural area as well. I think they have some characteristics which are really related to the place. So maybe the ones who are very involved in information technology, they have this kind of romantic idea that we can work from anywhere, anytime. But if you look at the planning perspective, how the cities are structured and how we are using the cities nowadays, despite the use of technology, I'm still thinking that place still matters. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mina. But myself, as urban and regional economist, I mean, space matters. No, so I completely agree, and I said previously in the session. I also, I referred to the literature of location and the literature of industrial districts. So the importance of the geographical proximity, the importance of the social proximity by Marshall, and then by the milieu novateur, the Italian industrial districts. So geographical proximity matters, social proximity, institutional proximity, and then, as Boschman in 2005 underlined, also the organizational and the cognitive proximity. These proximities matters in the place, but matters also within a working space, for instance. No? Because they should improve, enhance the well-being, but also the performance. And Thomas Friedman said that due to the ICT development, there was the death of distance, and so people could work from everywhere. But as also Philip McCann, and then there was a very interesting special issue on the Cambridge Journal of Cultural Economy and Society about the importance of the geographical proximity. So it's true that the knowledge workers can work from everywhere, but they need to meet face to face once in a while. Indeed, as a planner, now the City of London is thinking of allowing commuters to reach the city at least with the train tickets at least once or twice a week. Why? Because probably we will keep remote working, but knowledge spillovers happen when you are co-located. So, and co-working is co-location. So we can't imagine that they can work, can live, can survive without geographical proximity. Yes, Sebastian is saying there is a broad body of literature of learning at a distance. Yes, of course. But I'm an urban and regional economist, so
Yeah, but we're not bound to our discipline, so it's just acknowledging what is there and to balance it. And I think just to maybe to rethink what is, well, we haven't yet figured out how we conceptualize this pandemic and to what extent it will change everything, or if it's just an intermediate phase and one day, maybe in half a year, we will get back to a kind of new normal. So I think it's also a question to what extent we see this as a temporal crisis, or if it will be in the line with some people in sustainability studies do it. They see it as a kind of a forerunner for a more substantial, call it ecological, climate, and other types of crisis that will substantially have impact on the way how we will be mobile, how we will travel, and how we have still all our income situation as we know it from a growth orientation. And it might be a bit speculative, but I think it's important to address the moment of crisis and conceptualize our understanding of crisis in our, well, spatial patterns or geographical models, to what extent they will play a role, or is it just an intermediate phase? I think it's important to be aware of this, maybe also from geographical or urban planning perspective or regional planning perspective.
What I can say that I have read recently an interesting working paper of the Papers in Evolutionary Economic Geography by Richard Florida, Andres Rodriguez-Boz, and Michael Storper, who underlined that there are some issues that will change in a way our way of living. So the social scaring, so the fear of crowds. I'm not sure if easily we will go back. I'm a kind of person that hugs and kisses. I don't think I will do it anymore. So social scaring, then there is the issue of, that is very much related, for instance, to taking local public transport. Transport economists are studying this, that people either walk or go by bike, go by car. So even we are kind of very scary of being in crowded places. Then there is the issue also of another issue is about consumption. How much has the e-commerce grew? In Italy, we had, in Italy that we were quite far from the position of the UK, for instance, of the US, we are experiencing it. But what does it mean? It means that the closing down of shops within the neighborhoods. So there are really different forces. From one side, everything remotely, everything online, and from the other side, the planners and the local institutions that are coming back to the notion of 15 minutes walking distance neighborhood where you can find everything. So it's really, challenging.
Yeah, totally. Okay.
Okay, so I don't know if there are other questions or issues. If not, we can, say hello to everybody, and also Alessandra is saying hello to us, and even Chiara. Okay, and Chiara is writing, I would like to see you all tomorrow at the launch of the Paper Hunt Challenge by the Co-working Library with Joanna All. Okay, thank you. Thank you to everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.